Herzlich willkommen, meine Damen und Herren, zu unserem heutigen Webinar, in dem wir uns mit der Europäischen Datenschutzgrundverordnung befassen werden. Das ist ja das zweite Webinar einer dreiteiligen Serie und wir werden uns in dieser Sendung heute vor allem mit dem Thema Sicherheit und Datenschutz beschäftigen. Wie Sie wahrscheinlich der Beschreibung des Webinars entnommen haben, werden wir die Sendung heute auf Englisch halten, denn der Sprecher kommt nicht aus Deutschland, sondern er kommt aus der Türkei. Sie können Ihre Fragen aber gerne auch auf Deutsch stellen, ich werde sie dann einfach für Sie übersetzen. So I will switch to English now, and I want to give a very warm welcome to our speaker of today. It's Chala Dogan from Hewlett Packard Enterprise. Hello, Mr. Dogan.
Hello, Thomas. Thank you very much. And again, sorry for not being able to do it in German. So I'll be doing my best to speak in English and go through our structured approach, which is one of the hottest topics on GDPR, General Data Protection Regulation for European Union. A quick introduction about myself. I'm working as a strategist and business consultant in HPE Software, Europe, Middle East, and Africa region. So my main project, almost a year, is on GDPR, which is running as a global project. So in this session, we'll be going through a quick intro about what we are doing on GDPR area, and especially how a structured approach can help to our customers, to different organizations from different industries. So let's start, and let me just switch. Okay, I know in the previous session you have gone through in detail on GDPR, so I would like to just make a very quick intro about, for the ones who couldn't make it, so why is the GDPR so important, and then what is coming with this, and what we'll be seeing as an impact. So there is already a regulation on privacy protection and personal data protection since 1995 in European Union. And now GDPR has been introduced because of the online business and the digital disruption is happening right now since a decade. So it is trying to bring a new regulation on top of all countries, and even in a global scale, to protect the European Union citizens' privacy and personal information. And this is brought as an umbrella regulation in order to avoid country-based or industry-based interpretations of the existing regulation. So there are additional obligations on top of the existing ones, and there are some significant differentiation by means of more and strict limitation about how the data is being collected, how the data is being processed, and then how to build a legal and local base while the organizations are processing the data. And it will be having an important impact or an effect by means of the preconditions that is enforcing for the regulation, which is by means of fines, by means of brand reputation, and etc. So what we are expecting, what we are seeing from our customer side, actually it's not only about compliance. It is, yes, it talks about, okay, there will be fines, let's say from 10 million to 20 million euros, or from 2% to 4% of the organization's annual revenue, whichever is the higher, and that will be a reputational hit, and etc. But we should look at from three different perspectives. Compliance is one side of it, but on the other side, the data is growing enormously in an exponential level. So this regulation will be also helping organizations from operational efficiency side to take more control of the data, the business data, and the data flow, and also having more control how the organizations are processing the data while trying to be within the boundaries of the regulation with a proper and legal processing of the personal information, because the organizations are also using heavily, or let's say we are saying them to, the organizations are becoming more data-driven organizations because they are heavily using the data mining, analytics, and profiling type of activities to improve their revenue generation, or even improve their existing business opportunities, as well as bringing new opportunities, new revenue channels to their markets. So that's why they need to look at from three different perspectives.
We have a polling question. Sorry, Chala.
Yes, please go on. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, we have a polling question prepared concerning these opportunities. It's not only risk but also opportunities. We apologize for the quality of the audio. I don't know where the problem is. Maybe Chala, you can speak a little bit slower so that people can understand you anyway, because there's a lot of noise in the audio. There was also a question if you can get the presentation afterwards. Yes, that's absolutely possible. We will present it as a download in the end of the webinar. We will also send you a link when we follow up the webinar and send you more information. Well, let's get to the polling. The polling is, or the question we like to ask to you is, which aspects of GDPR compliance of this EU regulation are most important for you? Is it risk mitigation? Is it operational efficiency? Chala talked about it. Improved customer satisfaction, enhanced revenue generation, or none of these, maybe others reasons, whatever. We would like to ask you to vote here in this polling. Chala, you presented that there are not only aversion but also opportunities in this regulation. Could you give examples how companies can benefit from achieving GDPR compliance?
Absolutely. This is also based on our discussions with customers from different industries. And think about that, you are an online services company, and then you're a citizen, and then you are giving a lot of data to this company. And the companies or the organizations will be actually advertising themselves that we are GDPR compliant, we are better protecting your personal information, your privacy information, and we are also acting as a privacy aware. So that will be giving a little bit advantage on top of their peers or their competitors in the market, so that giving the message to the market as we are better protecting your data. That will be one of the main starting points also with our customers as a discussion area.
So you think European or shops or other organizations, companies based in the European Union have an advantage by this data protection rule, because they can say we protect your data, we protect your privacy, and we can prove it because we are compliant to this very strict rules. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Absolutely.
That will be the point. It's not only a lot of cost and complex regulations I have to address, but it's also an opportunity in that. Let's look at the results of the poll. Of course, risk mitigation is the most important aspect. That's no doubt. But also, let's say, operational efficiency and improved customer satisfaction are aspects of the GDPR compliance that are important for them. I think that's an important result. Is that does that mirror the discussions you have with customers?
Yeah, absolutely. Even yesterday we were having a discussion with a European bank, and then we were seeing, especially from operational efficiency point of view, getting the better control of the data, especially the business data, is crucial for them. And that's why this is also becoming a blocking factor by means of time to market. So that's why if they have better control of the data, they will be able to take better decisions, quicker decisions for the changes that is happening to business. So that's why it is also, they're also planning to use these type of, this compliance is an opportunity for them to fix the areas that they are failing to take the control of the data. So that's why this is one of the examples. The other one, on the brand side, one of the retail companies that we have made this within UK, they were saying that this will help us for our customers because they are operating across Europe, even 70 different countries. And this will be an advantage for them, and also for by means of the brand loyalty, because the customers will be having more trust to this online services company. So that will be one of their cases.
There's one question from the audience. Is there a certification for this compliance already? I think the legislation is still in motion, though the national law is not set up at this moment, but can you certify somehow that you are GDPR compliant?
Well, actually, we won't be, because HP is a technology company, but there will be authorities based every country, and these assigned authorities will be working with the data protection officers, which will be set again by the organizations, because GDPR requires to set this role for after looking at some selections or criteria on the organization. And this will be working, this data protection officer will be working very closely with the authority, and the authority, through the authority, they will be getting this compliance level.
Okay, that's even better than like an ISO certificate, which is issued by some private organization. So that's really an official governmental sign then that you are certified to the GDPR.
Yes. Absolutely.
Okay, I'll let you proceed with your presentation.
Yeah, sure. Now, if we look at which are the typical entities or the organizations or the business models that we are seeing to be more relevant to GDPR, obviously, whichever organization who is dealing directly with citizens' data, which is typically a business-to-consumer model. For example, the online, shops that will be the most common ones. The banks, the telecom companies, insurance companies, retailers, whoever directly selling goods and services and dealing with the citizens' data, that will be one of their major concerns. On the other side, large organizations, especially in a business-to-business model, like big, large partnerships that are processing all data, cross-border employee data, that will be also important for them. The government agencies, obviously, they will be strictly following this processing information. Let's think about the sensitive or vulnerable citizens' information, like children's information or the people who cannot defend themselves. That will be a lot of information that are already residing right now in the government institutions, the hospitals, and etc. Those will be considered, and GDPR will be their main consideration. Also, as a coming on the new top, on top of existing directive, the outsourcing companies, because in the previous model, controllers were mainly obliged to apply the privacy regulations, but the processors, who are actually typically, let's say, the cloud services providers or managed services providers, they were not in that level. Now, with GDPR, they are having equal responsibility about the personal data processing. This means simply an organization who is outsourcing one of their business applications, let's say in a virtual machine, and the outsourcing company who is hosting the virtual machine will not be able to say from now on, this is my customer's data in this virtual machine and I don't know what's inside. So they need to know what's inside, and they need to know, and they need to comply with the regulations. Now let's move on the time frames. It has started actually in 2015, and then there is a massive background work, even a couple of years of background work for the preparation. Now the legislation proposed by November 2015, it's been signed in April last year, 2016. Now, right now the organization started to understand what is this, what is coming as an impact, and then where they should be investing in, what they should be doing and deploying as new capabilities in their environment. And by 2018, in May 2018, it will be starting as the deadline for being compliant for GDPR.
Okay, we have another polling question to this. We would like to know, how far are you in your planning processes? Have you not started yet with planning GDPR compliance? Did you establish plans maybe? Did you already start implementing rules and workflows, which is of course difficult because the national legislation has not been set completely. Good luck. Thank you for your answers. How are your impressions when talking to customers, Chala? In what stage of planning are they, most of them?
It's moving very fast, to be honest. In August to September, November timeframe, we were actually meeting with our customers, and then we were understanding they were at the evaluation level. Now, where they are in last 3 months or last quarter, they have started the discovery process, trying to understand, where is the personal data, and then where it is sitting in our organization, and then trying to understand who is using that data, started classifications of the data. And now this is actually moving on step by step. They will be finishing these type of engagements within Insight, typically by mid this year, and then they will be looking at how to take necessary actions by implementations or integrations or adding new changes to their policies, to their processes, how to process the data, and then planning to complete by May 2018. This is where we are seeing them.
Okay, let's look at the results of our poll. So a lot of about exactly a third of our audience has not started yet, and another third, more or less, has not established plans but had at least some meetings. That is, 2/3 of the audience has not started the process. It's in early stages. I think interesting is the answer of 3% that they don't see a business relevance in GDPR. Is there really? Can you imagine really a company where the GDPR regulation is not business relevant? Small ones or ones that don't have end users as customers, or what could that be?
That can be the challenge, because if not having a business model direct customer interaction or customer citizen interaction, let's say in this way, it will be more on the employee side. It has started as a security project, protecting the data, controlling the access, and then that will be moving on in this way. But if it is dealing more and more citizen information as consumer information, it has to have a business relevance because of the regulation and because of the risks that it's a matter of how much risk the organization is carrying right now. And in case of a data breach, the fines are quite significant. And also the brand image will be also seriously damaged. So that's why it should have. And GDPR is asking also having accountability at the top level, at the board level. So that's why this will be shaping up, because every organization is now trying to understand and evaluate why this is important and what it is bringing to us. So that's why it will be coming.
So these companies that answered no, we don't consider that relevant, should maybe have a deeper look in the regulation and also in the consequences a breach can have.
Yeah, we'll be going through actually on the upcoming slides for that.
Okay, I'll let you continue with the presentation.
Sure. Now let's have a look at what can be a structured approach for GDPR compliance. Now, when you first read the regulation, first of all, it's quite dense and a bit complicated, and it is also having lots of different roles to be having responsibilities and also some tasks for GDPR. In very simple words, GDPR is telling the organizations what to do, but unfortunately, it is not telling how to do these things. Think about right to be forgotten is an important article, or let's say when you look at the purpose limitation is a very important article in there, and it's having lots of more limitations than the existing ones, but it's not telling how to achieve these things. If a customer, now the data subjects or the citizens are having more rights to ask questions directly to the organization, and the organization should be responding in a timely manner, and there's a time limitation for that. And then they can ask, how do you process my data, what do you do with my data, and the organization should be able to respond this. Or the data subject may ask, you should be from now on deleting all of my data. The organization should be able to respond this with some KPIs, and it can be quite challenging, especially for big and complicated organizations. They need to find the data, they need to identify where it is, they need to check with the retention policies, and then they need to act accordingly. And this may require a lot of tasks to be happening on the technology side too. And so that's why we are actually trying to build a better and structured approach so that we can help our customers and what to do and then how to do the tasks that's been asked by European Union and data privacy protection regulation. Now, if you look at what is a structured approach, it is starting with, first of all, discovering and identifying where is the data. And discovery or finding this information is having two aspects. One aspect is finding which of the resources are containing privacy or personal information. It can be a database, it can be a data warehouse, or it can be an unstructured repository like a file share. It can be an ordinary, PDF file, or an image, or a video, or an audio file. And it can be also physical records. And on the other side, the other aspect of the find or discovery stage is actually discovering who is doing what as of today with the data. So discovering of the usage of the personal information or the processing activities of the information. So what organizations are doing for this, they're actually running some different technology tools to discover the data at their sources. They also do some interviews with internally by every business unit or person by person, trying to understand who needs data, who is creating personal information, or who is processing and accessing that information, trying to understand and create a map. Where is the data and who is using it, and then where the data is, how the data is flowing through the organization. When they finish this stage, the next stage is classification. Classification is, first of all, starting with what is my in-scope data. This is the top important part. And most of the time we are having discussions, especially with the legal departments, because many organizations, as of today, collecting much more data than they need to proceed with their basic business processes. So, for example, an insurance company to develop an insurance policy for a particular citizen, they need this amount of minimum information. But when we look at, they collect much more information to use this information for different purposes, like data processing, like analytics, like running and profiling the customers, even sharing this information with an anonymized way to other insurance companies. So that's why legal departments entering into the picture and then trying to understand, do we really collecting enough information, or are we going beyond the scope? If we are going beyond the scope, what we should be doing about this? Should we dispose the data, or should we go back to the original citizens or the data subjects and collect additional consents with this purpose? Or should we discard this data and say that this is the data not in the scope? And when the classification is finished, it is time to take the control over the data. So modify or develop the policies by means of governance of the data, which is controlling the access, the security of the data, and the retention of the data, the archival processes, and etc. There are many different examples about this, and then I can talk about that as we move on the presentation. Is it enough? No, and at the same time, they need to secure the information by means of necessary encryption, pseudonymization, or let's say data de-identification operations, or protect the data and the overall IT infrastructure and the applications by means of security incident event monitoring types of solutions, for example, breach notification and detection and notification. This also requires, for example, in 72 hours, every breaches should be reported to the authorities, as well as these breaches should be reported to the impacted data subjects. So this is a very strict and mandate for the security managers or security environment. So that's why these will be the capabilities that the organizations should be having in place. And also, is it enough? No, they need to also design the applications from now on, or transform the applications to become more and more privacy aware. So this will mean that depending on the roles in a different organization, let's take a bank, a teller maybe, or an sales and marketing department may be seeing when they run a query and make a customer segment profiling, they will be seeing some areas to be masked. And depending on the access rights of the person, the one level above will be seeing those areas to be unmasked. So this is a kind of developing a privacy-aware application depending on the roles and the policies that are designed by the organization. This is extremely important from security perspective. At the same time, the data should be available by means of having rights, adaptive, availability, backup, recovery, and archival processes in place. So that will be the bigger picture of a structured approach for GDPR compliance journey.
We have another question for the audience concerning this topic. We would like to know whether you use a structured approach or plan to use a structured approach when addressing the GDPR compliance issues in your organizations. Did you ever heard about this, or did you hear it but don't use it? We would like to know your answers on this question. Chala, what are the risks of companies who do not use such a structured approach? What are the drawbacks and disadvantages if I just go in this topic without a plan or without a structured plan?
Okay, this is a very broad topic, and it's asking many different things at the same time. So that's why, without a structured approach, the whole objective behind is trying to show the organizations where to start and which area. Typically, everybody's starting from discovery, but there are many different regulation articles or criteria that's been asked at the same time. First of all, purpose limitation or freely given and consent. It has to be a granular consent. There must be a data minimization principle. There must be also, rights for data subjects. And everything should be, protected and encrypted from security perspective. All types of analytics and the data copies or the reporting, for example, inside the organization should be taken under control. So there are many different things to be done and carried out or considered by the organizations. And this is trying to show them where to start, where to focus, and how to move on in a step-by-step approach, because it may require a lot of investments. So this is typically trying to show the organizations, majority of them have already invested a lot in different areas. Like, for example, every organization is now having identity and access management solutions. Some organizations already started data governance projects. If we merge them, we may have a better approach, for example, data flow mapping, or better control over designed policies, and then incorporate with the encryption technologies and etc. So this is trying to show them how to leverage existing investments, at the same time add more capabilities, where are the gaps, analyze where are the gaps, and then add more capabilities so that they can have a more timely and cost-efficient approach for the GDPR journey.
Okay, so without a structured approach, I risk wasting time, money, and human resources.
Can be.
And do the wrong things that are not the really important ones. Let's look at the results of the polling. It's more or less divided in half. The half of our audience is using or plans to use the structured approach, whereas the other half is has never heard of it or is not planning to use it. What about your customers? Are they open to the structured approach, or is that also divided into what is your impression?
Especially complicated organizations like banks, big retail companies, telecommunications companies, they need to, because of their complexity of the environment is increasing, they need to have this because they need to have the controls. I have spoken with one of the major telecom company, and they said that when a call data record is generated after you finish the call, this record is flowing through the organization to their data centers. They don't know after that how many copies are created and how they are being used by different organizations. So that's why they need to be aware that how we can take better control over data and then use this also for compliance level. So that's why it's all about having an efficient and structured approach towards compliance level. Now, let's move on.
Yeah, let's move on.
With the framework that HPE has developed. So it is composed of 4 different layers. The 3 layers are mainly the technology capability layers, because HPE is a technology company, starting from data processing and lifecycle management in an end-to-end way, taking the control over the data by means of governance, by adopting new or updated policies, as well as having a security perspective. And to support these 3 horizontal technology layers, we need to have a legal perspective that we are working with our partners to have the right legal approach by means of controlling and checking how the organizations are processing currently their customers or employees' data. Now, let's move on this framework approach in a quick way. The data processing should be in an end-to-end way, starting by capturing the right permission, which is the starting point of the legal base, which is the consent or the contractual information, to allowing the organization to process the data. At the same time, while capturing or discovering the data, how the data is being stored, even transformed or used or shared by different parties within the organization, or transferred to the outside world, to the third parties because of the nature of the business, or how it is being archived, or there are retention policies. And these policies are, to be honest, industry specific, which is banking is using a different retention policies, but a government or a healthcare, or let's say an insurance company, they are using different retention policies and regulations by means of the industry, or having a different erasure or let's say destruction of the data in a defensible way. And every in every stage, all the processing activities should be recorded, because at the end of the day, the organizations should be creating the right defense layer by means of showing to the citizens or the authorities that we are processing your data in a legal and lawful way. And this is composed of three parties. One is the consent or the contracts that is allowing the organization to process the data. The other one is the data itself. And the third one is all the activities and logs that are generated during the processing of the data. And then security comes in place. We need to secure the environment from 3 different perspectives. One, obviously, the data should be secured from integrity and confidentiality point of view. All the breaches should be notified in the right time under the defined KPIs, which is 72 hours, for example. And this has to be done by continuously monitoring all the security incidents and events, controlling the access in a strict and more granular way, and at the same time developing and designing applications to become more and more privacy aware. So these are the 3 perspectives: operational security, data security, and the application security. And at the same time, taking the control over with the right governance practice by means of designing the policies, having the inventory in place from data and the usage perspective, assigning the right roles like data protection officers, at the same time having right accountability, and also doing continuous assessments and remediation actions, and having the legal touch points for every area so that the organizations can perform accordingly. Now, to have this in place, what we are doing, we're actually looking at from how the data is flowing in a very quick way. The data is being discovered, and then after the discovery of the data from structured or unstructured repositories, it's being analyzed and classified, what's in scope, what's not in scope, and etc. And then through if available in an encryption way or in an encrypted way, it's been moved on as a metadata to records repositories. That's where we are actually designing the policies and also starting to take control over the data. And when the policies are designed, these policies are enforced for the data by means of while capturing the data or capturing the consent or recording all the activities or allowing people to process or touch the data. These policies have been enforced for the data in their locations, like either in databases or in unstructured repositories. At the same time, the data is being protected from right archival and retention policies to be enforced, and then taking necessary actions. So it's not only about designing policies, but also taking necessary actions accordingly with the policies. Now, HPE is providing different solutions So this is a kind of a very quick snapshot of where and which type of HPE solutions are actually fitting for these purposes. Now, if you look at, this is a different perspective, if you look at the core of the data governance or information governance, which is starting with finding, classifying, and governing, it is actually surrounded by first the data security layer to have the right encryption and pseudonymization of data, the identification practices in place or capabilities in place, at the same time securing the email or securing the communications, and then having the right application security practice for breach prevention, and also having the security intelligence layer, which is heavily being used for breach detections and notifications for the authorities and the data subjects themselves. Now, if you look at a typical journey for an organization, it is starting in 3 layers. One is the awareness layer, which is actually started with what is the impact, what is coming as a new obligations from GDPR. And the next level we are seeing of our customers trying to understand from business perspective or legal perspective. So what will be our risk from legal side and what we should be doing by means of, I've given the example of data in scope and etc. And the third step is looking at the technology capabilities, where and how we can address these tasks from technology side and what will be our capabilities and then what we are doing, what we should be doing by means of taking necessary actions. So HPE is mainly playing in the technology assessment area, and we have created a workshop like Journey to Value. This is for General Data Protection Regulation, which I'll be giving quick examples about that. So what is Journey to Value is actually trying to understand, first of all, what are the existing investments and capabilities that will be helping to our customers for GDPR compliance. And there are many different aspects of GDPR. We are trying to understand which of your existing tools and solutions that can help you for addressing those requirements of GDPR. And then we are making a gap analysis against the framework that we have shown. You remember 3 horizontal layer and 1 vertical layer by means of legal. And then we are trying to also show them how we can create a kind of an recommended steps to be used as a guideline for our customers. As an output of this, our customers are getting these type of graphics and showing them where they are by means of data lifecycle management, governance, or security. And what you're seeing right now, there are different sub-capabilities, and every sub-capability is having a direct linkage to an article in GR document. So it is telling our customers that in which areas they are actually having high risk, and these will be used as high priority or high focus areas. Obviously, there will be dependencies. For example, we will not be able to talk about data subject rights or even right to be forgotten before the discovery or the data inventory, and then before data inventory, we will not be able to talk about data flow mapping. If we are not having data flow mapping, we will not be able to talk about having the capability to address right to be forgotten type of requirements by GDPR. So at the end of this, well, actually, how we are doing this assessment, we are actually using questionnaires, and then we are trying to understand where is our customer, and this is a bit magnified version of it. So, for example, respond to data subjects, there are 5 different states, and then you're actually walking through with our customers, and then we are marking the right fitting state for as is for our customers. And as we do this, we are actually identifying, first of all, the high-risk areas or the high priority areas for our customers, and then trying to show them by using use cases from their industries, and then how we can make a prioritization between different identified high-risk areas, and then trying to develop an action or a roadmap or a guideline, which will be ending up with some required implementations or integrations or consultancy for our customers. So this is a typical roadmap that we are generating for one of our customers. So there are different layers in here. So quick wins mean by means of unlocking the value of an existing investment. So they have the capability, but they were not using this for privacy data. So yesterday we met with a bank, and they were saying we have a very strong identity and access management solution, but we are not making access controls based on personal data access and based on application granularity. So that's why they have the capability in place, and it has to be modified by means of processing or the way they use these type of solutions. So how do we run these workshops? Well, there are two perspectives. One can be in a quicker way, which is 2 to 3 hours. We invite our the right stakeholders by means of chief information security officers or privacy officers, or there will be risk and compliance officer or a legal department or the IT department by means of CIO or head of IT and etc. And then we run this in a 2 to 3 hours. Or we can also do this in an extended way, which is typically the ideally 1 or 2 days, that we run 1 day, 1 hour as a kickoff, and then a couple of hours actually with identified stakeholders in different series of meetings, so that we try to collect information, fill that Excel sheet, and then try to generate those spider graphs, and then analyze the data and make the gap analysis and develop the roadmap. So for the next steps, what we are recommending to our customers, and then you can even have a quicker version of this, which is, you are seeing the link right now, gdprcomplianceassessment.com. You can click on this link and you can make a self-assessment, and you will be getting similar results, but you will be only getting 8 capabilities, but in a typical journey to value, we are actually looking at 34, 35 different capabilities. And that will be the technology assessment. And then we can actually start and move on with the discussions as we actually do this assessment with you, and then try to show them where to start, have an effective guideline for GDPR principles. So that will be quickly an explanation of a structured approach. So we'll be very happy if we have any questions or comments right now.
Well, thank you, Çağlar. You can download the presentation. That was a very quick survey through this complicated topic, and I think you can read the slides or look at the slides again. Would be a good idea. We have you can download it from the console now. We also will send you an email later with a link to it. You can also have a look at the webinar again. It was recorded and will be presented as a stream afterwards. Yeah, we have some questions. There's one concerning order data processing. Processors, in case of order data processing, are also responsible for the legality of controllers' process. How do you handle this task? How do I make sure that processes are compliant to the GDPR?
So that is quite important topic. And processes will be also having a similar activity or an assigned roles as well as the controllers. So that's why they will be in GDPR. It's very explicitly explained. They need to be also reporting back to both controllers and also the authorities. So that's why they are having the equal responsibility as the controllers are having. But the controllers typically responding to the directly to the authorities. But the processors, if they are outsourcing or if they are actually handing over some portion of their systems, they need to be getting comments from also all the compliance reports from processors, and then adding this to their overall, assessment, and then the analysis, and then reporting back to the authorities. At the same time, the processors, they will be responsible both to controllers and also to the authorities at the same time. So there's no escape for the processors, and they will be having double responsibilities.
Okay, so the risk will be lower than today. It's like you are responsible what the processor is doing, and after the GDPR is set in effect, the processor will have to respond himself to the governmental authorities. So there will be an additional security or an additional level of security for
yes.
you. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Exactly.
The other question deals with privacy impact assessments. Privacy impact assessments are duty by GDPR, advised by the data privacy officer. How do you implement this process?
Well, actually, again, this is the how question, and this is not clearly stated in GDPR right now. Mm-hmm. So that's why it is asking this should be done, but it's not telling in detail how it should be done. but we are expecting more explanations because there are different work streams are actually available right now. They are working on it, and there will be additional explanations on how the impact assessments to be carried out as they assign the authorities, and this will be coming as guideline. So that is top critical thing, because this is the starting point of making an assessment if the organization is compliant or not.
Okay, so we have.
And by the way, one more comment. Every time the processing method has been changed, for example, another impact assessment has to be done. This is stated in GDPR. So if you are processing the customer data in one way or several ways, and if you want to add a new processing method that you will be asking new consent for that, then you should be also doing another impact assessment. So that is how it is defined there.
So it's important to plan in advance as detailed as possible what processes you want to use in order not to avoid these additional assessments again and again.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you, Chala. We also posted the link to the first webinar, the recording of the first webinar that's dealing with the GDPR regulations in detail. We are at the end of this webinar. Thank you, Chalar, for this detailed insight in the process, in the structured approach, and in the security requirements that are associated with the GDPR. We will go into further detail and address the technical realization of data management and data governance in our third webinar, which will take place on the 12th of April and which will be held in German. Hope to see you there. Thank you for your interest. Have a great day. Goodbye.